Arnaud, welcome. It's such a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you, Andrea. I'm so happy to be here.
Arnaud, from what I have discovered from our conversations, you often say that you've been on a quest to live through your heart that began when you were 13. Can you share with our audience what happened at that age that awakened something deeper in you?
It's that moment when all of a sudden you start recognizing your own inner truth versus what the outer world is offering to you. In my case, it was related to my relationship to God, and it was supposed to be in a certain way according to the religion, Catholicism in this case. And for me, it was another way. And so all of a sudden I decided this is my truth and I live by it. So that is the seminal moment where you start recognizing yourself. And it took still a few years to sediment into creating a query not only about who am I, but also how I want to live my life. And that was okay. For me, it is evident somehow. I don't know why, but I have to live from my heart. And so that became a quest, and that quest led me not only to recognize more and more truth that I would feel inside and then I would find out in different books, but also obviously, we're hungry when we're young. We have to discover everything. And so I went to the different philosophies, the practices, quantum physics, and you name it, to again figure out what is this life about and how can I live life from my heart viewpoint. One of the amazing luminary, I guess, I followed at that time and still do is Ramana Maharshi, sage from the early 20th century. And all that I have built so far is really focused or to translate these concepts into something that is more pragmatic and practical. But very early, I had to realize that, well, life is talking to me every single day. So how can I understand its language? And how I can, once I understand the language, what do I do with information, which is there? No, that language is offering us, here's a gift, here's another gift, here's another gift. And so it was figuring out my path to realize that these gifts can lead me to become more me.
If you take away all your accomplishments, your titles, everything you've created in the past, how would you define yourself in a couple of words?
I would naturally say it's only me. And I mean, if I look at my background, I've worked in finance, in technology, created startups. Got a lot of different awards in different places, and more so in my technology background. And then again, it's just me trying to be the best human being I can be, and not much more than that. It is true that, on that quest, I've had like three different lives, or at least two: tech, finance on one side, and more that inner quest on the other, but which led to create a healing center in Spain for a while. And then when I came to the US, really realizing, so that was 12 years ago, that what is meaningful to me, and to have that moment of realization again, that what do I want to really dedicate my life to, and can create another startup, but what's the purpose of that? And that led me to realize, okay, I'm going to dedicate my life to help people open their heart to themselves.
What is the first step to start living in coherence with your own heart?
The first step could be to starting pay attention to the present moment. And so being in the heart, in essence, is embodying ourselves more and more and more. If we need a direction, something that is more practical, it is about being here now, in this body, in these emotions, in these thoughts, and just be here now, not projected in the others, in the past, in the future, and all that stuff. Just being here. That is what, the main practices, the meditation, the millennial practices of humanity is leading to anyway. So we're creating a path that is practical from a business viewpoint. And why business? Because you have a business. Everybody here in this audience has a business. What if by activating 99% of my intelligence, which is the heart intelligence versus the mind one, what if the journey towards my vision happens faster and easier? What if by bringing in more coherence in myself, in my team, opportunities show up much faster and without necessarily looking for them? So becoming from that place of hustling and struggling to a place of receiving. And that's the journey on which we all are as creators, right? It's to be in line and in coherence with whatever it is that we're creating. It is really to become more and more aware of this moment now. And there's so much beauty there we have forgotten.
When you have moments of doubt or higher stress that emerge in your life, or things that do not necessarily fold as maybe you had anticipated, how do you personally return back to a more coherent life? And are there some practices that you can share with us that have been effective for you?
Yes, it happens. It happens all the time, of course. Our day to day is laden with triggers potentially that calls for our attention and then leads us into a whirlwind of emotion of any kind, whether it is related to authority, control, financial lack, anything really can be a potential trigger depending on our stories and what we're attached to. So, and as you mentioned, also there are our expectations and the gap between what I expect and what is actually unfolding. The key there is really to accept every single gap or contrast as a gift. It shows something within me that am I ready to look at it and release it and embrace it with love so that it can transform within me. And the more I do that, the more I lighten up, the more easier it gets. Not only this specific aspect, but overall, right? I will connect automatically with a meeting that was not expected and brings a solution that I was not expecting either, etc., etc. So the very key is again present, all the presents are in the present, and so am I the one that wants to open these presents and then choose if I want or am I ready to align with that new information about myself? AKA, in this case, I had this expectation, I don't know, to close $1 million contract and then it didn't happen. Why is that? Is there a gap, right? Why is it that I'm not ready to align with that yet? Maybe and there was a series of events related to that. Maybe there's a tension there where one can be authentic with oneself and see that I don't want to open to the abundance that represents. And when I see that gift, then I can decide, well, maybe I'm ready now. I can make a new choice, in other words. So to answer your question, what is the one trick or skill is the pause button, I guess. Meaning when we have this present in the present moment, we activate our little finger here, our index finger, we push the pause button here and we open the gift and we see what it tells us. And then we embrace it with our heart because it's all about opening up to ourselves in the end. And this is a very pragmatic and practical advice that is to lead to an easier manifestation of any kind, right? Once you do that, you are in better alignment with yourself, and therefore, whatever it is that you had envisioned can happen faster.
As you're working with various executives and leaders across different organizations, what are some of the emotions that you have noticed leaders suppress the most and that actually stand in their way for experiencing more joy in life?
Wow, love the deep questions. But again, we each question we have to have a day or two to answer them, or an hour or two each. Well, the easy answer is we are all every CEO I know, myself included. It's we are limiting ourselves. There's no question about that, and me the first one. So, having said that, I guess the question that I would ask for everyone here is: would I like to create whatever it is that my purpose, my vision? Would I like to create it against life, against reality? Meaning I have to push through walls and hustle and struggle and so on, or with it, supported by it? It's a very simple question. I know what is my choice. The question is, what is your choice? It should be an easy choice. Funnily enough, 9% of the people choose the second one.
That's where struggle comes from, right? Because we are resisting what life brings our way that actually has a deep richness.
Yes.
And we forget to see the beauty and the gifts, maybe in the adversities or in the challenges, and how we can grow and evolve in the process.
Yeah. Even beyond, if I want to look at it from a very super practical, pragmatic, reasoning, logical standpoint, without looking at the beauty and the perfection of it, right? It's a very binary choice. There is a gift in front of you. You're not looking at it. Do you want to look at it, open it, and then use benefit from it, or continue to go on autopilot and continue to play the same patterns again and again and again and again. Very simple. So, do I want to take agency and start to really shift what is important? Not the latest skill to manage my time or whatever, or even leadership skills, but more aligning within myself to go from a place of, this classical orchestra, they have, before the director comes in, each instrument is playing their own tune until the director comes in, and then we have a beautiful symphony. Well, do I want to be the chaos or the symphony? So it's a very simple, pragmatic choice.
Yes, indeed. Arnaud, I want to share the book that you've written that I find really beautiful. Since we're going to be talking about joy, I want to read just a few lines from the book that relate to joy. Eternal fountain, abyssal well, deep expression of me before creation, limitless lake, reflecting the eye, infinite manifestation of all that I could be. I drinks from the chalice, jug of delight, pure expression of all that I can be. In that infinite moment of now, seize it and express all that you are to be.
Yes,
So beautiful.
yes, it is. It is.
So let's talk about joy. If there would be a recipe for joy and there would be three main ingredients that you feel are essential to living a more joyful journey, what would be those three main ingredients in your view?
So when we're talking about joy, we're talking about inner joy. It's not pleasure, it's not happiness, it's joy. And joy it's a feeling, not an emotion. It's a feeling that stems from within. It's not connected to something that is out there. It's not triggered by a series of events or a circumstance or an environment. It comes from the joy of being me, and which should be enough. We tend not to be doing that, but it should be enough. And so the recipe, I guess, is to really, so in our heart leadership framework, we have 7 pillars, which are presence, inner peace, inner joy, non-attachment, selflessness, unity, and purpose. And non-attachment is the key for joy. The moment I am detaching from the past stories, the future expectations, the beliefs, the others, meaning what is happening in my day to day, not in a way that, this is not important, etc., but more not being triggered, right? As we were mentioning earlier, then I can feel again that joy that like a little source of water, these little bubbles that are coming up like this, and it comes up, that joy is there, but we are not listening to it, we're not present to it, we're not living it now because there's so much noise that we're paying attention to. And that's the thing. So releasing attachment to all this, living every single event from a place of joy, is amazing, beautiful. Joy is the very texture of everything, right? When we're a toddler or a young kid, I'm in the joy of being a pirate, and then after that, I'm an Indian, and whatever is being fully and truly lived and experienced in that moment. So, what if we can release the seriousness and therefore the attachment to the role that we're playing, and living this beautiful moment as it is, because that's when actually I am really connecting at the highest possible level to potentials that will serve my purpose.
Talking about purpose, how would you orient someone that is listening to this conversation today in helping them articulate their purpose if they have not found it yet?
In a very short nutshell, to answer your question, the way I found my purpose, because this life purpose of mine, it took me 40 years and change to get to that, or maybe a bit more. I found it first I asked myself a question, which is, what is really meaningful to me? What makes my heart sing? What is the action in this world that I can make that makes my heart sing? And I had this experience of helping a person open their heart, meaning finding a new place of coherence within themselves. And that makes my heart sing, always, no question. And so I say, okay, then maybe I have something there that's meaningful to me. And then I also know that every single experience we're going throughout our life has a purpose, always. It's always perfect. It always leads, it's kind of a meta intelligence that leads us in that direction, helping us to get into these experiences. And so I had an experience in finance, another one in technology, as I mentioned earlier. I said, okay, so maybe I'm here to scale it and to help people open their heart and scale it and use finance in the process. I don't know how yet, but this is going to figure it out at one point or another. It's the journey in the end, it's not the destination.
If we really just dive deeper into opening the heart, how does one feel when their heart is closed? And I know you mentioned, it's about presence and so on, but someone that has maybe not been exposed or practiced some of the things that you're very, very attuned to, can you just give us the feelings in the body? How does it feel to have a closed heart versus have an open heart? If you do recognize that you have, let's say, your heart which is closed for whatever reason, how do you move easily in opening your heart if you have that desire in that present moment beyond just being present?
You're not present if your heart is closed. Let's make it very simple. You're somewhere else. I don't know where, but you're not here now. Because here, here now is love, is heart. That's the very core of your being. Having said that, and to your question, we all by default tend to have projections in many, many different things. And meaning, again, past stories, future expectations, concepts, beliefs, other people that represents some part of these concepts and beliefs or these stories. And the whole journey we are all on is to gather these energies we're spreading out with in this present moment. We're bringing back ourselves to ourselves. That's the core journey we're on. Now, how do I recognize that my heart is not open? If we look at it from a physical standpoint, it's tension, anxiety, worry, all that. All these lower level emotions tend to be a good indicator that I am in that fear space about whatever is unfolding in my day to day in that moment, right? Because the concept of being heart open or heart closed is not a generic experience. It's tied to something that is happening now. It's never, I'm a heart closed person and that's it. No, we all are heart open on some aspects and heart closed on others, right? So let's recognize that. It's still possible for us to move forward. When we recognize these tensions through the anxiety, the sense of depression, but we have an option, which is indeed to reshuffle the cards, so to speak, meaning, as we mentioned earlier, to pause. So again, the index, I like to do that because that's a technique that enables us to remember. So when we are in that moment of depression or of anxiety, of tension and nervous system being tensed, we can pause, we can make that choice and take a second, 10 seconds, a minute, and reconsider the awareness of this moment. Meaning, in other words, detaching a little bit from the ongoing, whether it is the ongoing story that I'm saying in my mind or the emotional tidal wave that is happening right now within me, whatever that is. I can make a choice. I hope you will agree with me. Say, okay, what is happening now? Right? Let's embrace what is unfolding in this moment, including the way I feel. This is not to be discarded, obviously not. And whatever is the interaction that is happening in this moment. And that starts to discharge a little bit the emotional trigger that was and then embrace the situation, embrace myself as I am. Again, coming back to a more neutral state. Imagine the car, right? You're going from D to neutral or from speed to neutral. And then once I open my awareness to it and I embrace it, then I can start the process of reprogramming the whole thing if I choose to. I don't have to, but it's a possibility. And that reprogramming is very simple. It can happen in a few seconds or a few minutes, as one wish, which is to first open ourselves to the event, embrace it, then somehow trust it. Something is happening in this moment. I don't know what it is, but I am open to whatever gift is there for me. And very quickly, I will feel that I can surrender to it, meaning that this event is exactly what I need in this moment. Might be a bit too early yet, but that's okay. We'll get to that anyway at one point or another. And then I can start the active process of forgiving the other, myself, for what is unfolding. Because I put myself in that situation, or I am feeling these things. Even if I don't like them necessarily, it's part of me. I can embrace that too, right? And then maybe even feel some gratitude for what is unfolding in this moment. And that leads automatically to more love and compassion for oneself. So you see, gradually we can, and that leads always to more harmonious outcome, always, 100% of the time. This is a key that we can use again and again and again. And it applies to everything.
There's tremendous research, particularly on the last point, gratitude. At the level of the brain, it's like an antidepressant.
Mm-hmm.
There's extensive research on this that shows how powerful it is, and it allows us actually to yes, to get into a mode of acceptance. And in fact, our brain does not have a capacity to remain in that fear anxious state. As soon as we get into the gratitude, we basically are massively focused on that. So this is really very, very powerful. Sometimes, we have to forgive ourselves, and we also have to have gratitude towards ourselves, because often we have this external focus on, I'm grateful for the actions of others or specific things that have emerged, but the reality is that we also have to turn that inward, to bring a greater compassion, and that positions us in a completely different state of mind, greater coherence, greater harmony, that allows us to even envision and open our mind to new possibilities that maybe were inconceivable before. So I think that's very, very powerful what you have shared. The research has also indicated that the more we practice gratitude, it becomes like a muscle. The more easily we would see the benefit that it has on us. So thank you so much for sharing.
My pleasure.
Any other tips that you would recommend that our listeners pursue to be able even maybe to gain more clarity? I know we spoke about purpose, but some individuals may feel as if life is happening to them. They're not necessarily feeling this locus of control, as we call it in psychology, whereby they're not necessarily in the driver's seat of their life. They feel as if things are just emerging and so on, and things may be good, others may not necessarily be as good. How can individuals take back control and truly say, well, I want to go on this path? Because some individuals actually just do not know where they want to head down. And what steps do you recommend that they do beyond what you have just shared? Once they're in that state of gratitude, what's one step to bring greater clarity, to elevate their life fulfillment or their level of joy?
We all are on that journey of entrusting ourselves to life so that we can trust our life. And this is very key. We are, and that's something that I started to realize in my 20s. We are in a constant dance and a constant conversation with our life. It is guiding us towards something greater of ourselves, to make it super simple. And so, could we take that as a path towards more clarity? What I mean by that is that I can create a relationship with my life. The same way I do it with my best friend or with my partner, could I create a relationship with myself, with my life in general, and ask questions and see what comes back to me through different events and conversations and thoughts and emotions and whatnot, or through our body too, of course. And creating that relationship, we talk a lot in leadership about trusts in businesses, etc., etc. But could it be that it starts with trust with ourselves? And once I establish that trust with myself, which is about creating a relation, right? That's how it works. Without that, there's not much trust. It's just a transaction, nothing else. So can I release the need of being transactional with myself and with life and start to actually trust the whole process, the whole journey? And is there a higher wisdom in our heart than the one led by our mind? I would say yes. Obviously, I'm a bit in that, right? But nevertheless, I think it's common sense too. So if I do trust the wisdom of my heart and therefore of life as a whole, then why am I not listening to it? Why am I not interacting with it? Why am I not having a dialogue or dancing with it? It's interesting, isn't it? Because all of a sudden that means if I have to establish a relationship with my life, that means that I am there. Because what we all are doing most of the time is through running from ourselves. So all of a sudden now I'm offered the option of I am here now in this present moment. And from that place, I choose to do this or that, to have this dialogue, this this step or this reading.
I think some individuals may let society, family, or culture influence the key aspects of their lives. And what you just touched upon is essential, because if we are living our lives according to the expectations of others rather than tuning into our heart and living the journey that we feel called to, we may live a life of regret. And I think that is an essential component that is important to explore.
And is it our life to start with? Am I really living the truth that I want to be held by and known for? You know, when we're talking about legacy and all that, is it something that I want to live truly? Maybe yes, and that's amazing. Maybe no, and that's amazing too. Let's change direction in that case.
Wonderful. Any final words of wisdom that you may wish to share with our audience as it relates to living more joyfully?
There is one that is super simple and it applies to all, you know, all aspects of our lives, which is follow your heart.
Okay, wonderful. Arnaud, it's been an immense pleasure to speak with you today. Love your work. Thank you so much.
Thank you.